Hey everyone and welcome back to a new video. As many of us know, Age of Sigmar's 4th edition is looming on the horizon. The typical 3-year cycle means we're likely to hear about a new edition in the coming month or two and can confidently expect a release date sometime this summer. But naturally, what many of us are really thinking about is what faction is going to take centre stage alongside the new Stormcast for the launch of 4th Ed AOS. We always see a refresh or at least some substantial new model range with a new edition, and many fans have been speculating for some time now on what the next set could be. However, a leak from Beyond the Void has surfaced recently, fueling the torrent of speculation, and in this video I want to talk about that leak and how we've actually already seen it in some of the recent lore. Plus I'll suggest how that same lore hints at some big things coming in the not too distant future. If you're excited to wander into the rumour mill with me and share a few ideas of your own in the comments section, then let's jump right in. So let's be blunt, you've seen the thumbnail of the video and probably the leak too. It seems the Skaven are finally getting some new love in Age of Sigmar. It's not a massive shock since they've not had a substantial set of releases for some time. Outside of the Deathmaster and Slink Skittershank and his Claw Pack, both released back in 2022, and a new Underworld's Warband in 2023, most of the Skaven range dates back to around 2010 and some all the way back to the 90s. So while they're not the oldest models in Warhammer, they are getting on a bit. However, a photo of a new Skaven sprue dated 2024 was leaked online recently, showing that there's still a trickle of new Ratmen on the way. At first glance, it's clearly a new weapon crew kit of some kind. You can see the haphazard gothic machinery the Skaven are infamous for, and some nicely proportioned Skaven, at least far better proportioned than many of the models we have now. Looking at those Skaven a bit closer, you can really admire the detail, the patchy decaying flesh on their arms, and even the minute contours of their teeth and paws. I've said this a few times, it often sucks waiting for older model ranges to be updated, but with how good modern Warhammer sculpts are, the wait is really worth it in the end. But anyways, while this sprue has caused a lot of excitement and speculation amongst the community, we don't actually need to guess at what this is. We already know because it's been referred to in a recent Dawnbringer story. In Dawnbringer Chronicles 18, The Mechanisms of Ruin, we get a fun little focus on the Skaven and two particularly conniving Warlock engineers. The first, named Catrick Brassfang, stars the tale riling at the creations of his rival Quilum, including one called a Hyper-Warp Rattling Cannonade. Now if we look back to the sprue, we can see that that is exactly what this is, a mega-sized 6-barreled Rattling gun. Those of you who have played Total War Warhammer will know that outside of Warpfire, Rattling guns are almost the quintessential Skaven death machine, as lethal to the crew as the enemy, and so seeing a bigger, more lethal one is really exciting from a tabletop perspective. That said, in the story, the cannonade apparently blew up and took a whole layer with it, so it's sure to be a fun one for all players involved. Just touching on the model again though, it seems this one is crewed by 3 Skaven, 2 pushing it and 1 I guess you could say aiming it, firing it, something like that. And I suspect these orbs are what contain the warp fire part of the machine, feeding it and its bullets with the energies of the Chaos Touch substance. But of course this is just one sprue, and often that wouldn't be too unusual in and of itself. We do get the odd new model here and there, particularly with campaigns like Dawnbringers, which tend to bring a mix of new models right before the end of an edition. However, because a new edition is on the way, and as I said, we expect a wave of new models for a particular faction, the rest of the Mechanisms of Ruin story is particularly interesting, because we learn of and see other deadly Skaven creations the 2 Warlock engineers have been working on. I won't go into the story too much, but by all means check it out, it is a really good one, but instead I'll just focus on what we actually see. One creation which Catrick spends the first half of the story building is some sort of warpstone bazooka. It's very similar in fact to the Doom rockets used by the Warlock Bombardiers, and Catrick mentions that it's adapted from their own technology. However, there seems to be something special about this particular weapon. We see Catrick use a stolen whisker from Quilum to attune it to the latter's soul, and while it certainly causes plenty of collateral damage when it strikes Quilum's laboratory, it seems the intent is to annihilate the victim's soul completely. That sounds like a really fun new hero unit for the Skaven, bringing that range lethality of the Bombardier, but perhaps with a knack for causing mortal wounds against specified heroes or units. That said, while the rocket causes huge mayhem in the laboratory, it doesn't catch Quilum by surprise, and we see the clever Skaven emerge from the smoke in a hulking mechanised warsuit. It's described as a walking gun-studded coffin of green-tinged metal with numerous power sources affixed to it. More than that, its bulk and power allow Quilum to carry at least one Rattling gun single-handedly, which he almost uses on Catrick before the two are interrupted. Again, this description reminds me of another existing Skaven model, the Storm Fiends. They too have these armoured suits and the ability to carry heavy weapons with ease. However, Quilum is no rat ogre or creation of Clan Scryer, so I imagine this suit is immensely mechanised if it can allow one of a warlock stature to do the same as those brutes. That said though, Quilum's suit does have a distinct feature of its own. Apparently it can absorb magic thanks to the warpstone that is seemingly infused into the armour. Again, that opens up some really interesting ideas for the tabletop, a hero that combines anti-magic with a heavier selection of weapons. But more than anything, it's just a really Skaven idea and exactly the sort of thing fans want to see. We do also hear of one other menacing sounding machine which doesn't quite make an appearance in the story, Quilum's Warp Nexus Virulator. Your guess is as good as mine, but the fact it has a name gives me a hope that maybe it might make an appearance alongside the others too, but time will tell. What's interesting is that the context for this story is that the two engineers have been busily creating weapons for Arch Warlock Chakat and demonstrating them in their clan's Great Murder Machination. It's like Robot Wars but for Skaven death machines, and it gently hints that those maniacal creations may be a big part of any future Skaven release, and I think that given what a lot of other factions have right now, that is precisely the right choice. Now, it's fair to say that just because these contraptions appear in this story, it doesn't necessarily mean they're guaranteed to appear in a new Skaven release, but given the timing of this tale and the way it serves to simply show off these mad creations, after all there isn't much more to it than that, it does feel pretty likely that the Mechanisms of Ruin is a subtle story showpiece for the new models coming later this year. In fact, at the very end we get an appearance from Lord Screech himself, who shows a personal interest in their creations and how they can serve the most masterful scheme at play in the bowels of the mortal realms. And that adds to this sense that something big is coming for the Skaven. In the story, Catrick notes that the heart of Skavendom, Blight City, is suffering from more and more seismic activity as of late. More than that, he's never seen it so animated. Every foundry and laboratory is blazing with activity, and the sounds of innumerable marching paws can be heard in the distance. Something big is coming, no doubt about that, and the fact that Lord Screech Vermin King, the greatest of all the Vermin Lords, makes an appearance at the end to announce this big scheme of theirs, I think sets the stage for something very exciting in a few months' time. And that window is precisely when we could expect to see this sprue and some of these other narrative war machines make an appearance, again sometime around June this year. Whether you agree with me or not though, I do think this Skaven themed story spurs the imagination at precisely the time when we're all beginning to think, what next? And doing so like this without actually delivering on it just feels particularly cruel, and I think for all their faults that's not what Games Workshop want to do, particularly given that Skaven aren't getting much love in Warhammer the Old World. But then again, maybe that's precisely because they're set to get a lot of attention in Age of Sigmar. So those are just a few of my reflections on the recent Skaven leak and the story that not only explains what that sprue is, but gives us more to anticipate as we look to 4th edition Age of Sigmar in the coming months. But what do you think? Do you agree that these other Skaven creations in the story might also make it to the tabletop? Or do you have any ideas of your own for what could be in a potential 4th edition launch box? And if not Skaven, what do you think the headline faction for that set could be? Let me know in the comments section. And as always, a big thank you for joining me today. If you liked the video, please do click the like button and subscribe to the channel if you want to join me for future Warhammer videos, and I do hope you'll join me for my next one. But until then, take care.